Welcome to the welcome to the Ramsey County Board Workshop. Today's workshop topic is the strategic priority, advancing a holistic approach to strengthen individuals and families. Courtesy reminder that this board workshop is recorded and it is live streamed on Zoom webinar. There will be no votes taken during this workshop. Let's start with introductions of commissioners and presenters around the table and then move to the rest of the room. Just caution you, we are over time, so if we can be quickly, that'd be great. Want to go quick?
Garrison McMurtry, Commissioner, District 3.
My John, Commissioner, District 6.
Ralph Ortega, District 5.
Tara Jevon Singh, Commissioner, District 1.
Mary Jo McGuire, Commissioner, District 2.
Rita Moran, Commissioner, District 4.
Lynn Becker, County Manager.
Christina Ross, Veteran Services Director.
Dana DeMaster, Health and Wellness Director of Strategy and Innovation.
Patrice O'Neill, Director of Workforce Solutions.
Alex Kutza, Interim Deputy County Manager for Health and Wellness.
Holly Pratt, Deputy Director of Workforce Solutions. Laura Reyes, Deputy Planning Manager for Safety and Justice.
Elijah Norris Holiday, Youth Transformation Planning Manager.
Change Administrative Planning Assistant. Lydia Gama, Interim Policy and Planning Director. Krista Dillon, Food Security Coordinator, mainly for helping on the service. Sarah Otten, Program Evaluator. Hannah Corbin, Early Childhood Evaluator. Karen Francois, Deputy County Manager for the Information and Public Records Service Team, and also one of the sponsors of the Holistic Families Strategic Priority.
Sophia's in all there.
Greg Collins, Deputy County Manager, Economic Growth and Community Investment. Lisa Gensville, Program Manager, Workforce Solutions. And Michelle Ellis, Workforce Solutions, Planning Manager.
Larry Zimmerman, Policy and Planning.
Veronica Jackson, Bracelet Health Equity Administrator. Lindsay Menard, Policy and Planning.
Exhaustion, Policy and Planning. Cameron Bailey, Urban Ag Coach Coordinator.
Perfect. So this is the second of a series of board workshops that center on our 7 countywide strategic priorities and lift up key department level performance measures as follows up to the service team performance measurement presentations in September of 2024. The workshop this morning will focus on strategic priority, advancing a holistic strength of our approach to strengthen individuals and families. And this afternoon, we will learn more about the family coaching model. We welcome the Interim Health and Wellness Deputy Director Alex Kutza and Innovation and Strategy Director Dana DeMaster to start this workshop with an overview of the strategic priority.
Great. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, County Manager. As was mentioned, I'm Alex Kutza, the Interim Deputy County Manager for Health and Wellness. And we have a whole team of people that I'm not going to introduce because they get to do their amazing part. So I'll keep this part short. I did want to recognize that I have 2 partners in this governance, Deputy County Manager Karen Francois and the Chief of Staff Maria Sarabia, who I got the lucky pick to be at the table, but they have done this work right alongside of us and have been part of all of this work. So as we said, today you're going to get a full day focused on families, the work we do across the entire county. I hope what you see, we can go to the next slide. We want to share with you that this is what we focus on when we think about advancing a holistic approach to families and looking at a family holistically to understand their needs and have easily accessible programs that are not siloed, but structured with the family at the center is really important. And when you hear from both, you're going to hear from the Health and Wellness Service team, you're going to hear from the EVCI through Workforce and even IPR through the Vets Services. So as you can see, this is a county-wide initiative, and it's really transformational work. And this work is moving us forward all across Ramsey County. So I'm going to keep it at that to try and keep it short and hand it over to Dana for her part. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Our current goals and strategies for this strategic priority. Our goals right now are families can identify and advocate for their own needs. And our primary strategy and project right now for that is the family coach programming, which we'll have in the afternoon deep dive on that topic to strengthen systems that support basic needs. And so we're working on implementation of the 24-25 food security strategic plan, because food is really the most basic of all basic needs. And then ensuring that families receive all the benefits that they want and are eligible for. And so as Alex mentioned, when we're thinking about putting family center and that holistic approach, looking at families as a system and looking at all people in that family and how we can serve them in the ways that they would like to be served. And so there's two ways we're working on that currently. One is the creation of an automated referral system that will be implemented by an eligibility screening tool. And I'll say a few more words about that. But today, really, our focus is on those support services that are using a holistic approach. And so we have many programs across the county that really center family in how they approach their work. But these are just two examples of some of that work going on, and we'll devote majority of the time to that. But that's an overview of what we've been working on overall in this strategic priority. In regard to the food security strategic plan, it was developed with community to develop strategies to ensure that communities have access to food. Food is, the most basic of basic needs, and hunger, as we all know, contributes to poor educational outcomes, chronic illness, mental health issues, a wide variety of things that make it so communities can't thrive. Just to highlight a few of the things we've done in the last year under this food security strategic plan, in regard to supporting the food safety net, we've executed 13 cooperative food security contracts that allow any department to access food in an emergency or an emerging critical situation. As we learned during COVID, sometimes we needed food fast. And we had to scramble at that time to develop those relationships and those systems and processes. And these cooperative contracts in place will allow departments to access critical food needs in a time of emergency. We held a food distribution pilot at the libraries where folks could come in, and any library patron without questions, without any kind of eligibility criteria, could get a bag of food at the library. And we are launching, I believe tomorrow, a similar pilot with community corrections, with probation officers. As we know that, instability and not having basic needs can make it really hard to remain law abiding. And so providing those families with food and people on probation with food. So we'll be starting that pilot. We've been working in the urban agricultural space through zoning laws and looking at how we can use county or city-owned land, vacant properties, and other spaces in our communities for community gardens, and partnering on soil testing as well to make sure that that's safe and good place to grow things you want to eat. And then finally, and I think this is probably the most important, is working with other spaces on their long-term plans to ensure that food access and food security is part of those other plans. So like the solid waste management plan and looking at organics and compost, the climate equity action plan, parks and rec plan, and then public health community health assessment. And how do we work food security into those other spaces throughout that? The other project, and I'll just say a few words about this. This is something we definitely need to come back to you on and give some more detail in the future. A challenge has always been, when relying on an individual worker to know all of the programs and services, right? They change, there's a lot of them, there's a lot of information, and it's easy to get outdated information. And so we're looking at, well, right now we're doing the final contract negotiations to have an online eligibility screening tool that will include not only the state and federal benefits, but about 20 county programs that will have some questions that folks can answer either online in a service center, or staff could actually go through it with someone. And it'll provide a printout or an online page of links to how to apply for those programs. And so kind of harnessing technology to help with that, providing that wraparound service and get over that information hurdle for folks. We're finalizing the contract and we're hoping to implement late this year as we work up training and planning and getting all the technical specs worked out.
Can I ask a question regarding that really
Yes.
quick? So it's similar to then, I think, the Bridge to Benefit screening tool that the Children's Defense Fund has, and have we considered, is that a duplication of their services, and were there other options maybe to partner and expand on the work they're doing?
We're finalizing I'm sorry, Chair Miller.
Yeah.
We are finalizing the contract right now, but I would say it's very similar to that one.
Yep, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. If it's similar to that, are we duplicating, like, for example, like 211, like United Way 211 also?
Chair Miller and Commissioners, no, it's not duplicating, and that's something we looked at very carefully, was 211 and what they do. And so 211 includes all community, I mean, the wide variety of community programs. This would build on the Children's Defense Fund tool to build out those county-specific programs. And so it would be county-specific and complement 211.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. There we go. But like I mentioned, we're really focused on those programs that already have a holistic approach to families. Workforce Solutions, Minnesota Family Investment Programs, Employment Services, and Veteran Services. And these are really great examples of how we can consider an entire family system and nurture partnerships in the community that extend and complement the services we offer. And so I will now turn it over to Director O'Neill of Workforce Solutions.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, County Commissioners, County Manager. I'm Patrice O'Neill, Director of Workforce Solutions, and I'll be sharing with you a little bit more about how the employment and training services that we provide integrates into the holistic family support systems. The Minnesota Family Investment Program, or MFIP, provides temporary financial assistance to low-income families with children under 19 and pregnant women. Individuals receive a combination of cash, food, and childcare assistance, along with comprehensive employment services, including job counseling, training, and education. Most families transition out of the program within 2 years, with a maximum eligibility period of 60 months for most parents with minor children. Ramsey County takes this holistic approach to supporting families by integrating career pathways, well-being, and stability services. Workforce Solutions and a network of community providers offer resources at locations in both St. Paul and suburban Ramsey County, ensuring that families have access to personalized and culturally responsive support on their journey to financial independence. Eligibility for MFIP is determined by the county's financial assistance service providers, who then refer individuals to Workforce Solutions for employment services and to be assigned to an employment counselor. Families have 2 paths of service delivery that they can follow. In the MFIP program, path 1 is for families that are determined to be able to fully participate in the MFIP program. And path 2 is called Family Stabilization Services and is for families that may be experiencing various life challenges. The FSS families that may be experiencing various life challenges is a pathway that allows for greater flexibility with participation expectations. And regardless of the path that they are on, each family has an opportunity to develop an individualized employment plan that includes activities that are meaningful to them on their path to stability and wellness. This may also include employment, job search, education, or family stability, such as health and basic needs, such as safety and housing. This slide here shows the demographics of MFIP families that we are currently serving. This data is based on annual participant demographics and are aligned with the state's performance timeline that runs generally from April through March annually. We have currently 5,881 families total who are receiving the MFIP services. Just a brief breakdown of the demographics of these families: 54% identify as Black or African American, which is the largest population served of those that reported. 23% are white, 11% Asian, 6% multiracial, 4% American Indian, and 2% did not identify. Additionally, 80% are single head of households. And outlined to the right of the pie chart are a few additional demographics about the individuals and families served, with 40% of MFIP recipients are receiving the family stabilization services previously mentioned or have been extended beyond 5 years. 8% of MFIP families identify as Hispanic, 11% are immigrant or refugee, and amongst MFIP recipients, there are at least 20 different spoken languages other than English. Commissioner McMurtry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 quick questions. Since MFIP is federal and state funded, are there concerns about potential cuts? And if so, what are some of the plans in place to make up those loss of funds?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioners, I think there's definitely always concerns with cuts to funding right now currently, and others may have other insight, but I'm not personally seeing any direct threats to TANF, which is the large federal grant that funds MFIT currently. But we definitely continue to monitor to ensure if there are any changes that we would have a contingency plan in place to be able to support.
Gotcha. And then one quick follow-up on the 40% family stabilization services or extended beyond the 5 years. On average, how long are families doing the extension?
It's a great question. Do you know?
I do not know offhand, but we
Okay.
can get that information.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jickinson?
Yeah, I had a similar question, which was, for family stabilization, I can imagine, like, as you described, there's a number of reasons why there may be more investments in those families that are needed.
Mhm.
But, I'm curious as to when it's extended beyond 5 years, what would be the life events that would trigger them to stay, into an ongoing support that extends beyond 5 years? And that's just information that'd be interesting.
Yeah, we actually have that highlighted here in the presentation, but there are a variety of different personal circumstances and factors that would indicate why a family would extend beyond. And many of those have to do with some of the barriers that Dana highlighted previously, as well as additional personal incidences and or critical needs that families have. Right, so the goal of MFIP is to promote family wellness and economic stability to support and sustain the transition from public assistance. And the program is designed to provide essential support services to eligible families, empowering them to achieve economic prosperity and independence. Workforce Solutions uses this holistic approach to employment services, ensuring that employment guidance counselors are addressing the needs of the whole person and or the whole family, and that they are receiving culturally relevant and responsive resources. Whole family services provided by Workforce Solutions addresses the needs of each family member, recognizing that individuals within a family are interconnected. By providing support for parents, children, and sometimes extended family members, these services offer a holistic approach to well-being. Families facing challenges such as financial strain, parenting difficulties, or relationship issues may experience high levels of stress. So full family services that provide support resources and coping strategies in a variety of areas can reduce these stress levels and promote mental, emotional, and physical well-being for all family members receiving MFIP. As you'll see here on the slide, in the last 2 years, Workforce Solutions successfully implemented and sustained the holistic service model and approach to serving the whole family, with 26% of families engaging in structured holistic services. MFIP is a complex system, but through cross-department coordination, continuous engagement, and meaningful family-centered services, Workforce Solutions has demonstrated that the holistic family support model has the potential to positively impact the economic outcomes of families and in some cases improve overall MFIP performance.
Commissioner McMurtry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just so I understand, the percentage of families who have, I guess, agreed to do the structured holistic, how are they given the option of whether to take a path of holistic versus other options? I just want to get a better sense of why, like, not 100% of our families are wanting to do a holistic structure to help.
That's a great question. I'm still new and learning this also. So I do have a couple of my colleagues here. I don't know if Michelle or Lisa, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, actually, 100% of families do participate in holistic services. This measure is focused on additional intentional investments around some more integrative programming. But it's a very great question because it's often in sharing options with families. They receive support in all life-living areas, whether it be child well-being, health, housing, legal supports. All the programs are comprehensive within the MFIP program model. This is around additional intentional investments, which we'll have some highlighted as we go.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, okay.
I just,
Oh, yep, Commissioner Jean.
I just have a question about, how childcare fits into this too, about how you're working, with, FAS or, as they're processing those applications.
I will also defer that question to my trusted colleagues here.
Yeah, childcare is,
Yeah.
Can you come up and talk so that everybody can hear?
childcare is part of, the program, and so we do work closely with our childcare assistants.
Very hesitant.
Well,
we just want to make sure you can get on the tape. I mean, if people are listening to this, so
Yeah.
we just want to make sure it can be heard.
Right.
Thank you.
And through working with employment counselors, families develop individualized employment plans. And then we can authorize childcare for the activities in their employment plans. And if they're working, of course, they can go right to childcare to get support with childcare assistance.
If it's available, is it always available?
Shortage. Yeah, I'm not sure about the availability of if that's.
Commissioner Chair Miller and Commissioner Moran. MFIP childcare is different than basic sliding fee childcare. MFIP childcare is funded through the TANF grant. And if families are working on a work plan with employment services or on MFIP, they are eligible for childcare. There's no waiting list. There's no funding shortage in that regard. Of course, if there's a shortage of the kind of care they need in the community, that's a separate thing. But in terms of actually getting a subsidy, families on MFIP and in the transition year, 12 months after they exit, are funded in a different way. Basic sliding fee is for families that are just lower income, but not on MFIP and not in that transition year. And that is a block grant from the state. And we have to balance that block grant to ensure that, we're reaching the most families, but also not overspending our block grant. So those are two different ways to enter into the childcare, but for the families on MFIP,
There's no wait list.
there's no wait list, and there's
Good.
currently no wait list for basic sliding fee either.
Really?
Mhm.
So just on that, so thank you, Commissioner Moran, for asking that, because I have similar questions. So we have the funding for it, which is good to hear.
Yep.
It's not going to be the case all the time, I think, but it's great to hear now. And so in the community, there's actually enough childcare available. I mean, I can see the funding's available, but are there opportunities to pay for it? Are there enough locations?
Yeah, Madam Chair, there is not. Remember, when I brought forth some of the childcare work, we showed you the childcare desert. And so, in the case of, even if there's no waiting list, there's maybe not providers in the community. And so that was work on a different side, it's a supply and demand
Right.
kind of problem.
So we have
yeah.
to work on the supply part of it now, so that may or may not happen. Hopefully, we're working on it, so.
Yep, go ahead, Commissioner.
Just a quick follow-up. Do we pay market rates for the childcare?
There, Chair Miller and Commissioner Shea, I'd have to look up the exact policy, but there's it's similar to Section 8 subsidies where there's an amount we'll pay, right? And it's not necessarily whatever the provider is charging. There's a maximum amount that's defined in state law. It's not defined by us, right? And then we'll pay up to that plus the whatever sliding fee that the family has, in addition to that. But as the market gets tighter, just like in the housing market, right? Like if Section 8 will only pay so much, but the rent's up here, that's a similar issue in childcare where then someone needs to make up that difference. But we could get the exact policy citation of what the amount is.
Yeah, because that would create a desert, the childcare desert, right?
It contributes for sure.
Well, it contributes,
Yeah.
and that's number one, and number two, it affects the quality of the childcare. So I'm just raising those.
Absolutely, and I'll just add real quickly that MFIP, childcare subsidies can be used for unlicensed family, friends, and neighbor care, right? And there are many excellent providers in that space as well, but it is unlicensed. And when we're thinking about the 4-star parent aware rated and things like that, we're talking about different things, right? And so if there's nothing available on the market and you have a neighbor who is available, you could also use the subsidy to pay that neighbor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Moran.
Yeah, so as we talk about this holistic approach, I think about the African American Family Preservation Act. And I also think about prevention or active effort. And what that would look like or could look like or need to look like in supporting families who may be reported, right? That we can get them, are you looking at or getting like a partnership, right? With, right, so that we're all looking at how we can support the family and not just the child that's been removed or could be removed.
So, Madam Chair, last night we had a African Preservation Act advisory group with the community, and Giovanni Ford was there from NICAD, which is one of the partners with Workforce Solutions. One of the things that Deputy County Manager Kutza was there too, but we were talking about how to leverage more contracts in the county where when we're offering sort of holistic services that other areas of the county can also use. And so one of the takeaways from that meeting was like, so if you have an input contract with some of these intentional holistic supports, how could social services who find interconnected families leverage the existing resources so that we're serving that family more holistically as they're going through their active efforts through the Child Preservation Act. So that might be something, I think that's what you're referring to. When we see the number of Black children or families on MFIP, that definitely, you know, influences the ability to make those connections. So I think that's a great call out. And I think we need to look at that holistically across the county. They pulled out the contracts with community providers that social service has, but that's only one list of a multitude, whether it's workforce, public health, community corrections, all of those should kind of lean in. And so that's work we have to do broader as a county, and I'll talk to the sponsors of the priority about that more as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Giovanni was there, so I think that's a good connection. Yeah.
Yeah, we have this slide kind of highlighting NIDCAD, but I think to the question around kind of the partnerships and how Workforce Solutions is kind of working in community to provide additional support services. It's important to kind of highlight that we do have additional partnerships, NIDCAD being one of them. We also partner with CLUES, American Indian Family Center, Goodwill Easter Seals, St. Paul Promise Neighborhood. We also have a direct relationship cross-departmentally with public health, and then additional multiple partnerships to provide training and education for our WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act participants, as well as adult basic education and workforce training. So in addition to the direct services that we directly provide through Workforce Solutions for MFIP, families are, we're leveraging those outside partnerships to ensure that families have access to community-based, culturally responsive support services to advance those additional personal needs that they might be facing. Over the last several years, Workforce Solutions has established both strategic and collaborative partnerships to provide integrated and co-enrolled programming. So the partners that I listed and NIDCAD, who are highlighted here, are providing support services and work directly with employment guidance counselors through Workforce Solutions to address the complex needs of families receiving MFIP additionally. So that is another part of kind of this holistic framework that is really hinges on the success of how we're able to support our families. I'll also highlight that our partnership with Goodwill Easter Seals, not on this slide, but just to kind of highlight for you, is our partner for the Workforce Solutions Family Achieve Success Today program, or FAST, which is an integrated model for families to receive individual placement support, career counseling, adult and children mental health services. And they also offer individualized case management for single fathers on MFIP in connection to the Father Project. The individual placement supports are specific to families with a parent or primary caregiver or child who have a documented medical disability. So those are additional supports that are provided to families as well.
Commissioner Sean?
Yep.
You know, I just want to go back to this performance metric piece on the goals that you have laid out for yourself, for the department. I guess I have a question more so around, our staffing, like, are we meeting the needs, for the infant families here? And then also, about the, data here, like the families that are in the program, is, our staff reflective of, the demographics here?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say, I'll also give Michelle space to respond, but as far as representation, that really matters. And so our department does reflect a variety of the communities, cultural communities that we see that we're serving on MFIP. So it's not uncommon that we would have an employment guidance counselor that represents the same cultural background as the families that are being served. And there's a level of intentionality and kind of training that's provided to employment guidance counselors as well to be able to work across cultures and differences and really lean into the supports that families need. I don't know, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, and with our contracted partners,
Mhm.
when we release requests for proposals or solicitations, we do leave it open to applicants to tell us like which population they feel they would be best equipped to serve. And part of the intentionality here too with partnering with American Indian Family Center is to the last round of contracts, we had an agreement with them that they would serve all of the American Indian families that are in MFIP. So, and again, like Lisa was saying, like all of our partners do have holistic services and some wraparound supports within their own organization. So, yeah, right.
I'm sorry, what, the question that I didn't get answered is just staffing levels, like, are we meeting, do we have enough staff or like counselors to meet the needs of our families here currently?
Yes, yes, I would say so, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just quickly wrap up with highlighting a couple of the additional strategies that we've implemented to improve overall performance for MFIP families receiving the holistic services. Workforce Solutions has implemented multiple strategies to support these families. Listed here, we have the designated liaisons. That's a cross representation across teams and vendors of employment counselors who become specialists in a specific collaborative or program model that we've invested in. Those liaisons provide input and receive training to support recruitment, connections, and engagement. They meet regularly and share knowledge, updates, and insights with other employment counselors for deeper understanding and connections for making referrals to the program. We also have the coach approach lifelong learning strategy, which coaching includes placing the participants' motivation at the center of the services, including engaging full family needs, exploring strengths and priorities rather than barriers, and routine goal review and resources, needs, and opportunities. All employment counselors are trained to provide service support that embody our values of opportunity, equity, autonomy, respect, community, and learning. And this approach also includes motivation-driven practices that are, again, culturally responsive and consistently focused on providing high-quality service and opportunities that promote progress and skills development. While MFIP Employment Services includes compliance-driven requirements that had been historically transactional in nature, the coach approach emphasizes using relational skills and facilitating goal pursuit throughout all phases of MFIP service. The third strategy there is holistic goals, which is meaningful to the family. Employment counselors foster dialogue that prioritizes life areas most important and meaningful to the family, leading into goal setting and employment plan development. Ongoing active engagement is an addition to the coach approach and holistic goal setting, and is not done at one phase of service, but is rather ongoing throughout the entire process, and is responsive to family needs, adapts as the family progresses or change, and supports or goals occur throughout the program. This engagement is customized to the family preference and situation and needs while still honoring the requirements of MFIP and the ES programming touch points. The staff training and development, that's pretty self-explanatory, but we do have a pretty deep commitment to core training and embedding ongoing practices through live training tools, videos, process guides, opportunity mapping. and additional resources to ensure ongoing coach approach and lifelong learning tools in supporting families. That's also kind of done in partnership with our community-based organizations as well, again, to make sure that families are receiving comprehensive services that meet their individual needs. And then learn, evaluate, and improve. Continuous improvement is at the core of this model. And so learning from families, both formally and informally, around their engagement and getting their feedback to help us continue to provide high quality services is a core priority, as well as learning from staff across teams and community partners. And learning from the community as well, and evaluating and partnering with our department partners to collect that data, both anecdotal and quantifiable data to support the expertise and kind of needs of every family. And then we make changes and adapt as we go. Next slide.
Commissioner Jevonsing?
Yeah, I just have a quick question about, so I know that there are some of our local collaboratives who are collecting and maintaining some of these resource centers. I think it's Suburban Ramsey Family Collaborative, you know, kind of crowdsourcing and continuing a list of community-based resources, the Ramsey County Children's Mental Health Collaborative, so similarly for mental health supports. And I'm just wondering how much we are tapping into those resources. Are they systems that we're looking at in order to connect people to services? Are those outside of our system? I'm just curious how we're working with those.
Yeah, I would say my response to that, you know, leveraging those community-based organizations and additional resource guides is a significant tool, especially for employment guidance counselors who are making resource referrals. So I'm sure that they're accessing those tools that you've highlighted, as well as a variety of different others, as well as the relationships that they have at individual organizations too, to make those direct connections and kind of do the warm handoff so that families are getting connected to resources and supports in community. As well as having that ongoing kind of point of contact and mentorship and relationship building with their employment guidance counselors as well.
And given that, that these are resources that we rely on in, you know, along with all sorts of other resources, if there was ever a time when, because of changing landscapes, that the capacity of those organizations to maintain those resource guides and those facilitating spaces to continue to build those partnerships and relationships, of which Ramsey County is then invited to participate in, or is part of the organization participating in. Is there a mechanism for us to be made aware of that so that it's not, oh yeah, 3 years ago, this organization used to do that and we really miss it, that we can know ahead of time to be able to say, this is a key tool that we use. We're hearing this is being stressed, you know, ahead of time because it's something that we rely on as well. I'm just curious if there's a way for us to be aware of supporting our partners who provide these kind of resources for us.
Chair Miller, commissioners, I would say, you know, keeping resource guides up to date is a pretty significant, you know, process. And I think one of the things that I've been really pleasantly surprised by with our employment guidance counselors is their kind of awareness and knowledge of kind of staff turnover and changes in programs and resources at the organizational level. So even if those guides and tools are outdated, which is significantly, you know, important to being able to make those direct resources, we have internal relationships with a variety of different community organizations to be able to continue to provide continuity of service. But I think to your question, you know, there's opportunities to definitely work more collaboratively to increase the relevance and kind of real-time information that's available to families as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think for the sake of time, I'll just kind of wrap us up here and round us out if you want to go back to the last slide, sorry. Just really briefly, I'll just highlight that for Workforce Solutions to improve many of the workforce outcomes that we talked about here and reduce barriers to employment. We do lean on evaluation. I mentioned briefly earlier that that's one of our core strategies is continuous improvement and service performance so that we're continuing to drive our intentional investments. We've learned to rely on the internal and external expertise and the wisdom of communities experiencing disparities to establish these strategic investments and partnerships with community organizations. And some investments are financial, while others are through those coordinated partnerships and relationships as well. I think I'll leave it there.
There you go. And now we have Director Russ to talk about the excellent work they're doing over in Veteran Services.
All right, well, good morning, Chair Miller, Commissioners, County Manager Becker. So today I'm here to obviously talk about Veteran Services and how we're advancing the county's strategic priority of advancing a holistic approach to strengthen individuals and families. Through our work connecting veterans and their families to income sources in healthcare. So our mission is to ensure that veterans receive the benefits they've earned through their service, benefits that can help stabilize household, reduce long-term dependency on emergency services, and strengthen the entire individual and their family system. We serve veterans holistically, recognizing that no challenge exists in isolation. So whether a veteran comes to us needing housing, mental health care, employment assistance, or help navigating the complex benefit system, our approach is to understand the full picture and respond with coordinated, compassionate support that uplifts the entire household. Veteran Services plays a unique and vital role in the strategy. We serve as both a guide and an advocate, helping veterans understand their options, again, apply for complex benefits and access programs that directly enhance their financial stability and health security. So this work is not only transformative for the veteran, it has ripple effects across their entire households and our communities. When we stabilize a veteran, we stabilize their family. And when the families are stable, they are better equipped to thrive in our community. So this first slide here, we'll talk a little bit about it. You'll see our key performance measure of the percentage of veterans who are connected to income and healthcare access after receiving support from our department. In 2021, that number was just 12%. As of 2024, we more than doubled it, reaching 26%. In 2027, our goal is 30%, and we are on track to meet and exceed that. So this performance measure matters because it directly reflects our contribution to individuals, family, and community well-being. Veterans who receive VA compensation, pensions, or healthcare are more likely to have stable income, better health, and reduced risk of housing and food insecurity. I'll just touch a little bit on some more numbers here. In 2024, we helped 3,524 veterans. Of those, 53 of them accessed benefits through the state, and we brought in $213,000 through those benefits. It's difficult to average out VA compensation and pension across all veterans because these benefits are tailored. So some veterans receive up to $175 per month. Others can receive over $3,800 per month, depending on their disability level and special circumstances.
Commissioner McGuire, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and maybe it's coming up in the next slide. I'm looking quickly to see. When you say percentage of veterans, are these veterans who need these services or are these total veterans? Like, do all of our veterans need these? I'm guessing a lot of them maybe do, but I'm just curious if these percentages is the total number of veterans or the total number of veterans who need services.
Great question. You can actually go back to the other
Okay.
slide. Yep, and I will be answering that question, but I can answer it now.
Okay.
Commissioner McGuire. So 26%. So those numbers up there, of the 3,524 veterans that we served in 2024, 26% of them were connected to new or increased income or healthcare benefits.
Okay.
The other 74% that are not noted on there received essential services that lay the groundwork and outcomes. So those can include education on benefit eligibility, claim preparation and submission, appeal support for denied claims, service record retrieval, crisis intervention, homeless prevention and care planning, and then also referrals to housing, legal, or other employment services.
So a lot of the veterans we serve are already receiving benefits. So when they come into our office, it could be various other things. It could be helping them increase those benefits, filing for an increase, or going through an appeal process. Because it is such a complex system in the federal government, it needs subject matter experts to help kind of walk them through that process.
And Madam Chair, just a follow-up, thank you for that. And I think we don't know the answer to this, but do we know how many veterans are in Ramsey County? Like, I think it's hard to know how many, because these are the ones that are served. So I'm just curious of the percentage of veterans that are here, how many we're serving.
So I do know the number of veterans. I mean, you can look at probably 3 different things and
Yeah.
find 3 different answers.
Okay.
But the number I typically use is 23,124. That's, again, I look at federal systems, state systems, and then just our county census data, and that's kind of the average number. I would say, it's hard to say what average number of veterans of those 23,000 are getting benefits, but I can share with you the information about how much federal dollars they're bringing into Ramsey County. If you're interested in knowing that.
Sure.
Okay.
Know that.
So in 2023, out of our 22,000 or so Ramsey County veterans and their survivors, we've brought in approximately 92 million in federal VA tax dollars into our community. And that's just like pension, compensation, survivor benefits, and burial. And then it doesn't account for the other $125 million that the federal government pays for healthcare services for our veterans and their dependents.
And that's going to the veterans. It's not going to Ramsey County, but it's going to the
Right,
veterans in Ramsey County.
Right.
Yeah.
It also indirectly.
Indirectly,
supports
right,
our
but it's
county,
in
yes.
support, yes,
Yep.
by supporting them, it's supporting us, but we're not getting those dollars directly.
Correct,
It's going to the actual veteran, which. is-
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Now. All right, so, yep, I'll just kind of go off that then. So every time we help a veteran connect to those benefits, we're helping bring in federal and state dollars into our community, and that money can help support the veterans' rent, groceries, childcare, other household expenses, which not only helps the veterans household, it helps boost our economy as well. So, okay, I was following my script, so I apologize.
Yeah,
I'm just getting back.
sorry, we distracted.
Oh, no, you're fine. I love the questions. So part of that, when I was talking about that 75% that aren't noted in this performance measure, so the other stuff that we do with those families and those individual veterans, those steps are crucial because they help build trust. They remove the barriers and move veterans forward in the system. So our performance measure doesn't capture every success, but it does reflect meaningful long-term outcomes that align with the holistic family approach. And so you'll see an upward trend, and this didn't happen by accident. Several key factors are driving our progress. Expanded benefits at the federal and state level. So in 2022, there was the PACT Act that significantly broadened eligibility for veterans exposed to toxic exposures and substances. And MDVA, Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, has continued to enhance benefit accessibility and services for our veterans. Increased outreach and awareness, so particularly targeting veterans who were unaware of available benefits. Focus on equity. We prioritized outreach to veterans of color and women who have historically been underrepresented in benefit enrollment due to systematic barriers and historical mistrust. We've streamlined access to benefits. We've simplified the application processes as much as we can with the federal government. We've provided more personal support through case management and advocacy. We've also created an online referral link on our out-facing website, and done that internally with Ramsey County as well. And then the other thing is pandemic recovery. So as services stabilized after COVID disruptions, we saw a strong rebound in engagement in 23 and 24.
Commissioner Jevonsing?
Yes, I may be beating the same drum over and over and over again, but, we're already getting calls from constituents who are having difficulties accessing because of cuts at the federal level with
Mhm.
staffing. And I'm just wondering how that's impacting your work and what we should be aware of.
So it's not immediately impacting our work, however, it will start impacting veterans. I would say, because you're seeing those cuts now, it's probably gonna be impacting them in the next few months, like 4 to 5 months, because it's going to take longer for those claims to get approved and processed. Right now, it takes about, on average, and this was before the cuts, it took about 153 days to process a claim on the federal side. And that, it was relatively fast for the federal government. I can only imagine what these cuts will do on the federal side in making these claims take longer. They do get a retroactive like payment, veterans do, but it doesn't help them during that period.
Thank you.
Right. Let's see what we have. So,
Yep, Commissioner McMurtry.
yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Question on, simply the work that you all are gonna be doing. I'm sure you're about to, talk through some of this when it comes to, veterans of color and women and making sure that they're, getting access and understanding of the different services that we provide. With the plan that you all have built out, is there a specific like percentage of an increase that you're hoping to hit this year and then maybe scaling up? Like, are you hoping to get 10% more veterans of color brought into the system? Is just want to kind of get an understanding of what the plan is around some numbers that you're maybe trying to hit to see that increase.
We don't have a specific number or percentage in mind. We do have a goal of reaching more, like some of those areas in Ramsey County that have historically been underserved. And we're doing that by continuing to outreach to our community. So we've just connected with a group in the Frogtown area, which I think would affect you, Commissioner Moran, and you, Commissioner McMurtry, for recovery. I'm blanking the name of it. Recovery Cafe. So we are creating a veterans group there. We, not specifically our department, but we partnered with Recovery Cafe to create a veterans like stopping point. And I think the more we do that in those communities, I think we'll do better outreach. Historically, we've been in areas that are served well and the people know about the services. We're also working more within community centers. So I think that's called the McDonough Community Center. We've been out there, and we're hoping to do more of that community engagement and outreach in these areas.
Have specifically to St. Paul, have we thought about engaging our district councils? Just knowing that they have a built-in base and relationships with community members and could be a good opportunity just to leverage them as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, 3 minutes, okay, well, let's skip that. So we'll just talk about, this is. Partnerships, did we go through that already?
There you go.
I'll talk quickly about our partnerships and then can wrap up. So again, like I said before, this work doesn't happen in isolation and we rely strongly on our network of internal and external partners to meet the full range of veterans and their families. So social services, we connect aging veterans to long-term care and disabilities. They do that work. We just refer them to those areas. And we have good connections with our social services department. In fact, we have a social worker from their department that works in our department. So many of our veterans want to age in place, and this is one portion on how we can help with that. I'll skip financial services. That's bridging gaps with food, emergency assistance. Our housing stability department, we support emergency shelter, rental assistance, and permanent housing. That's their keys assessment and other areas of that. With our Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans, which I don't, oh yeah, it's up there. They help with housing, legal issues, and employment navigation with our especially with our veterans who are in crisis, specifically housing crisis. We partner with the sheriff's office and our district court to connect justice-involved veterans to treatment, reentry support, and with the Veterans Treatment Court program. We work with our veteran service center, or excuse me, our Ramsey County Service Center, which allows veterans to access our services closer to where they live. And then the Minnesota Food Helpline connects veterans experiencing food insecurity with local food shelves. And we also, so every time a veteran comes through our office, we do a food insecurity screening for every veteran that comes through and help them, provide them with the resources they need for short-term and long-term food support.
I have a question.
Commissioner Moran.
Do you have any community-based organization partners? This is all government.
For specifically
For
for,
veterans.
well, we have our local legions and VFWs. We work a lot with, UNGM, Union Gospel Mission, not Neighborhood House, what is it I'm thinking? Listening House. The Minnesota Food Helpline, Metro Meals on Wheels.
All right. Just.
Want me to finish up?
Yeah, go ahead. And then I have just a real quick,
Okay.
I'll take my opportunities and next steps and make it like that big.
Okay.
Okay, so just looking forward, we continue to expand our outreach for those veterans who remain underrepresented, strengthening our partnerships.
So you want to go
Is that a
back?
question?
Go ahead, Commissioner John.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to, also make sure that there was a partnership even between workforce. Just because there are also challenges when folks come back, that finding a job is really difficult too. So can you speak more about that partnership?
So the veterans that we work with, we typically send them through the career, what's it called? Career Force. Yes, Career Force, and they have veteran representatives that work specifically with veterans, with the workforce. And then we also have the employment services through our MACV, Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans, program as well, and then connect them to those benefits, so. And so I should say, all of our partnerships are not listed on the slide. We have many more partners. These are just some of the ones that I've highlighted. If you want more, I can provide more if you'd like that.
Thank you.
I'll just say a few words about our next steps and kind of combining some of the opportunities we've had in the last few years. And when we think about a holistic approach to families, I think we often visualize like an individual worker sitting down with a family and having a chat, right? Like that's how we picture it. And that's definitely the way things are happening in many spaces across our county, not only in these programs, but like public health, home visiting. I think about child protection. There's many, many examples of that. But we also need to harness technology, right? Like many people want in-person service. Many people just want to do it and phone on their bed, you know, just like everything else you're doing on your phone, they want to do these things as well. And also, how do we be more efficient because of technology, right? And so things like the eligibility screening tool and bringing all that knowledge of all those programs to a worker's fingertips. You know, how do we do our data management? A lot of a holistic approach is about knowing who's getting what, which has to do with data privacy, that has to do with data governance and how data systems are communicating or usually not communicating. And so those are additional things that we're doing to help really get that enmeshed. Like, how do we wrap around a family, not only just with a staff person, but like also the information that they need to make good referrals, to help families to know what they're already receiving. And then also, I just want to mention, I've been very grateful. I've been in this space for a number of years. And now we have these new executive sponsors who are very engaged and excited about this work. And it's been super helpful. And one of the next steps that I'm looking at is how do we build up a stronger structured governance for this strategic priority? And I really look to the climate resilience strategic priority, and they have that amazing governance structure that takes the work that many places across the county and community and like ties it to one goal, right? And I think holistic approach, that's really where I would like to see us go structurally, so we can recognize the work that's happening and then build on it and build on that energy. Because I'll hear about things, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to learn more about that. But then how do you bring it all together? And that governance really helps us with that. So those are some of the places we're doing to our kind of our next steps is around that governance, the eligibility screening tool. This afternoon, you'll get a great deep dive from about family coaching, and it's most of the people who are presenting are from the community and not us. So that I always like that better when they're hearing me talk all the time. Not my colleagues do great though. But anyways, I want to thank you all today and see if you had any final questions and hand over to Chair Miller.
Yep, you can go, Commissioner John.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. I really like the idea about leveraging technology. Because I really believe that it is already out there. An example, I was out in Woodbury and doing a Google search, and then an ad pops up about like services for Washington County, right? So I think we doing like targeted ads and promoting the eligibility tool would go a long ways. So I really like that that you're already ahead and thinking about that. And then my other question is, like, since we piloted the food in the food access in libraries, are there partnerships with the city of St. Paul's public libraries?
Chair Miller and Commissioner, at this point, it's been county libraries.
Have there been conversations with them?
I would look to Carissa to see the city libraries. Did we?
Yeah, we've, well, we have done, a lot of food resource postcards. I think the city of St. Paul Libraries ordered like 12,000 postcards in different languages to give out, and it's a conversation to still, continue, with our, the cooperative contracts that we have. We wouldn't be able to use them necessarily for food distribution from our partner sites at the libraries, but we could come up with some alternatives since the Sana Foundation, other food shelters already operate out of the city of St. Paul parks. But that conversation is yet to be.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Any other ones? So I just have one question before I wrap up. So I really appreciate the focus on holistic support and love to see the deeper conversations. I'd love to see a deeper conversation specifically around food insecurity. That's a passion work of mine, and food is such a core part of stability, right, for families, like with education, health, home, I mean, it all. So we could consider even a board workshop on the work that we're doing with that work, because there are a lot of great things happening in that realm as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. So Ramsey County, as we just learned, is advancing a holistic approach to support individuals and families. The goal is to connect county policies, programs, and services to families to navigate complex systems. So we just learned about the family coaching, especially for African Americans and American Indians. Well, that's going to be soon. Food insecurity through a 5-part plan. The eligibility screening tool, which we're pretty excited about, that come out in late 2025. And then the department highlights from Workforce Solutions on the holistic multi-generational services for families in Minnesota, the Minnesota Family Investment Program, and also veteran services, how they're expanding their outreach, especially to veterans of color and women. So I really appreciate the work. I hope I got that quickly.
You did great.
This is only my second time, still a newbie. All right, we are adjourned, right?
Thank
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
See some of you back this afternoon.
You will.
Yeah.